Hey everyone, my name is Harrison Overby with Elite Truck, and here today we're going to give you a crash course on transfer fuel tanks. Transfer tanks can be found in a variety of different industries: construction, agriculture, and even landscaping. When looking into transfer tanks, one of the most important things to do is to make sure that the tank that you want will fit in your truck. Most tanks are going to be listed under capacity rather than dimensions, so you will have to call us or look at the dimension drawing and be able to take some measurements of your own vehicle to make sure it's going to fit in the space. When taking the measurements for your available space, you do need to account of a couple things. If you have a bed cover that you want it to stay below, also if where your tie down points are, how much space you have from the front of the bed to the wheel wells, and then also if you have any type of bed liner. Mainly with the bed cover, you have to take into account the height of the pump on top of a tank. Some tanks are going to have a pocketed area where the pump will sit, but in this case, it will take up higher space above the tank. Once you've figured out the transfer tank that you would like to look into, after taking your measurements between the bed rails and the wheel wells, you also have to account if you have a gooseneck or a fifth wheel prep package, making sure that you do leave space so the hitch can clear and that you're not going to interfere or overlap anything. With short beds and long beds, you do get a different section of tanks that you can work into. We do have some options that are up to 100 gallons for a short bed, but if you have a gooseneck ball or a puck system OEM prep package, then that could interfere. Once you've looked at your measurements and you started to narrow down your tank options, it's not a bad idea to mark it in the bed just so you know where it's going to sit. This will help you visualize if it's going to have room for the drain plug to clear, if you're going to have too much height for the bed rails, and kind of give you an idea of exactly what you're going to be putting in the back of your truck. Once you look through a few of the different options on our website, then you are going to find that there are different styles of tank that you can get. This one right here is going to be one of our more popular slim tanks. It's a 50-gallon weather guard tank. It's really popular for short bed pickup trucks because it doesn't take up a lot of bed space. Looking at some of the other options, you could go with a combo box, which give you multiple varieties of tool storage. You could go for L tanks if you have an existing crossover, wedge tanks if you need to have better visibility of a gooseneck ball or fifth wheel hitch, and then also split tanks if you need to carry two different types of fuel or liquid. After looking at the fitment, narrowing down your tank options, there is one more key thing to keep in mind. Depending on where you live, state and federal regulations can limit how much fuel you are allowed to carry in a vehicle. There are also different rules if it's in a commercial vehicle or if it's a personal vehicle. So we do recommend that you get with a local state representative or check your local state DOT and figure out what is going to be your limitations on how much fuel or combustible liquid that you can carry inside a vehicle. When purchasing a tank, you do get to have a couple different choices besides style and capacity. You also get to choose material. We offer tanks that come in a steel of white or black. We also have polish or black diamond tread and even a few small selection of smooth aluminum. Each one of these tanks carries its own characteristics that are appealing to certain people. Say you live up north where there's a lot of snow, you probably don't want to have to worry about a tank rusting or scratching the powder coat and allowing rust to form. So aluminum has been very popular up there. But if you're in the Southwest where it gets a little bit more hot, a lot of customers have been really favoring more towards a white steel tank just to keep the heat off of it while it's sitting outside. When purchasing tanks through EliteTruck.com, we do have a lot of different options to look at. When doing that, you are going to have a choice of capacity. We offer anything from 20 gallons to 200 gallons in multiple finishes and materials. The capacity does affect the dimension, though you will have to take that into account, and there are ways to work around it if you need a higher capacity tank for a shorter bed of the vehicle. Once you've picked the tank that you want to go with and you've decided on the capacity, you do have to keep in mind that you aren't going to be able to use that full capacity. You have to leave about 10% of the tank empty once you start filling it up to allow for the pressure inside to be able to regulate itself with fumes. If you overfill it to its full capacity of 100 gallons in 100 gallons, most likely you are going to have to deal with some of the diesel or gasoline, kerosene leaking into the bed through the rollover valve. You can put a small 5/16 hose on the rollover and try to let it bleed out that way through a drain underneath the truck or into a catch can, whichever you prefer. But the easiest way to do it is to just leave 10% of the tank empty. Depending on the transfer tank that you select, you may have to select a pump as well to go along with it. Some of our tanks do come with pumps included, but most of them do not. Depending on what your application or use is going to be with the tank, that can depend on which flow rate you might be better suited with. If you're doing something more along the lines of lawn care, then an 8 gallon per minute would be more your speed. But if you're doing something where you have bigger equipment, mini excavators or skid steers, you may need to go with a 15 to 20 gallon per minute pump, depending on the size of the tank that you're trying to fill. Once you've decided the flow rate, there are a couple other things to take into account. If you do want to have a manual nozzle or an auto stop nozzle. Manual nozzles are 15, 8, and 20 gallon per minute flow rates, but a auto stop nozzle is only 15 and 20 and 25. The 8 gallon per minute is going to be able to flow the fuel similar to being at a gas station. So it's relatively steady pace, not too fast. Going up to 15 gallon per minute is going to be twice that. The auto nozzle is usually recommended just because it does automatically stop for you and gives you a less likelihood of overfilling a tank or a piece of equipment. Most hoses that come standard with transfer pumps are going to be about 12 feet. You do have the option to get an extended hose that can go all the way up to 20 or 25 feet, but doing that can affect the flow rate for the distance the fuel does have to travel. A 15 gallon per minute pump at a 12-foot hose could drop down to a 10 to 12 gallon per minute pump if you put it on a 20-foot hose. Some of the accessories that we like to recommend adding to a pump but is not required would be a filter. So depending if you're in a more dusty or dirty job environment like forestry or heavy construction, having an extra filtration to make sure there is no particulates transferred into the equipment isn't a bad option either. We do have a few different options depending on the brand or style of pump that you're going for. We have the standard GPI ones, we also have Fill-Rite ones similar, and then we do have a Napa one that is a little bit smaller and compact depending on if you're trying to save space wherever the pump is being mounted. Some other accessories that we like to recommend adding to your tank are going to be swivels, flow meters, and a spin collar. Spin collar is going to be selected when selecting the pump, but the swivels and the flow meter can be added on later. The swivels are going to make it a lot smoother of getting the hose untangled and just having general movement of it. The flow meter is going to be able to show you how much fuel has exited through what you're pumping into to give you a better idea of where you need to let it stop at. If there's any questions that you have that we didn't answer in this video, please feel free to leave a comment or give us a call. We have a whole team of specialists that are more than happy to help you work through whichever tank you're looking at and which one's going to be best suited for you. We hope this video was informative for you, and this coming year we do plan to increase our video presence so that we can provide more information about different product lines to you. If there's any suggestions or anything in particular that you would like to see a video on, please feel free to leave a comment, and please like and subscribe to keep up to date on our latest videos and new information.